So this is another reading of The Silent Word. We're at the bottom of page 254, bottom paragraph. God, man's silence had at no time given the impression of voicelessness. The silence itself spoke, and only a casual visitor noticed that he was not speaking, but that one of the Mandali was speaking for him. It was a dynamic silence invested with words according to the requirements of the situation. But the silence that now fell upon the ashram was that of arrested action. No one spoke and no one moved, but remained dumb and rooted. So Baba was sitting under a tree, and when the Mandali approached, he waved them away. Um, No one spoke and no one moved, but remained dumb and rooted within the boundary of his helplessness. Baba remained aloof till well into the afternoon, when he sent a message by his slate bearer that everyone should take up his work again. Then he sent another message that he was going away alone, and everyone should continue as usual during his absence. At this, the ashram's silence was broken, and the Mandali and the boys and the teachers went to him in a body and begged him to return, and he came back with them. This was at the beginning of October. A new seat was made for Baba under one of the neem trees by the roadside, opposite the jobti. It was a large table with a cupboard at one end, just big enough to sit in, while the rest of the tabletop made a little veranda to come out onto. Baba's mother came for 2 or 3 days. She now had a new pride and bearing, a new pride and bearing. Her Maroke, her pet name for Baba, which we've also seen as Merog, Merog, was a great man. Look at the crowds of people who came to him. She had only one fault to find. He should make the Mandali do all the fasting instead of doing it himself. Baba attended a bhajan session in the untouchable colony. 2 days later, he came to hear that a dead bullock had been dragged in and made a feast of. Baba immediately ordered all the boys of that area to pack off home. But the parents of the dismissed boys came and told Baba that no one who had taken the oath had participated in the meal, and he readmitted the boys. Then, with 2 or 3 Mandali, he went into the village and took down the names of those who had eaten the flesh. The following day, these came and asked their sin be forgiven. Baba forgave them, but told them not to repeat this offense against their own well-being. If an animal died, it was to be taken and buried outside the village. He promised them 5 rupees for any such burial to compensate for the loss of the beast's skin. Tea with sweets and bhajis was given at Ramabai, Molly's house, after which the party went on to Sitaram's place for a dinner celebrating the anniversary of Sant Buaji's samadhi near the well. Baba declared that he intended fasting on water and milk and weak milkless tea for an indefinite period, and asked some 40 of the Mandali to fast for 24 hours. He also said that although he would continue supervising all the affairs as usual, he would not be able to play with them as much as he had in the past. All were warned not to come near his seat when he was there. He now left the jobti and spent his nights at his new gadi, or seat under the table. He continued his daily supervision of the ashram's activities and also his share of flour grinding. A man was introduced to Baba as Mamlatdar, and M. Baba said, I have little regard for such things. In spite, oh, I see. Um, that would be Master of Arts, probably. M.A. Baba said, I have little regard for such things. In spite of your attainments, you are still an ignorant man. The man did not take offense, but began to weep in acknowledgement of the truth of what Baba said. Diwali began on 17th October, and after having fasted for 6 days, Baba took a little food. He explained to the Mandali that the particular work he had been doing required him to breathe in the opposite way to which a man usually breathes, and an empty stomach was a great help for such work. Baba was again bathed, this time by the women devotees, and many visitors of different classes and castes, as well as by the Mandalay, after which Arti and Puja were performed. Let me
Okay, where are we? In the
resuming the
afternoon.
recording and Dhanayana reading.
Okay, ready?
Go ahead. Yep.
In the afternoon, Baba called the Mandali together and divided them into three groups with a new fasting program. Those in the first group were to fast on water and wheat tea for 3 months. The second, to fast for 24 hours every Thursday and Sunday. And the third, to abstain from food and water on Thursdays only. After this, they played Atyapatya with Baba joining in. In the evening, instead of bhajan, the boys let off the fireworks which Gulmai had brought for them, and they all skipped and jumped and yelled till the last little flame flickered out. After supper, little lectures were given by some dozen of the Mandali, and at the end, Baba awarded marks of merit. After 9 months of wearing a beard, Baba was shaved by the Manzali barber, Gangaram, nicknamed Khan Mogul, who had come again to see him. The new residential quarters for the Director of Education, Arjun, were occupied by him after the due ceremonies of occupation. Sadashiv Patil and his family from Pune and many others from the early days came for darshan. Vistaji had been provided with a whistle to blow if danger approached, and each of the Mandali was given a stout stick to use if necessary. In the dead of one night, Gustachi blew the whistle, and the Mandali all piled out, ready for anything less than an armed invasion. But it was found to have been caused by one of the women devotees who had been allowed to stay on, screaming when a rat ran over her. For a while, the men mumbled about in the dark until the chill of the night and the pull of sleep drew them back to their beds. Two school inspectors, who after taking darshan were shown the school, were greatly impressed by what was being accomplished. Now it seemed that the faith of the people was being supported by many material blessings, which flowed from God-man's ever-abundant beneficence, and so the crowds continued to increase. Baba was given another ceremonial bath, the occasion being Kartiki Ekadashi. In this, men and women from outside were allowed to join in. Baba was often seen moving about during the night. He was now doing his writing in one of the schoolrooms. He spoke of having charts of the spiritual planes done. A young man came to Baba to question his knowledge of astrology. Baba patiently answered all his questions and then told him that it was dangerous to try to sound the depths of the master. After many requests to open a flower stall on the roadside on Thursdays and Sundays, Baba permitted Rambai Mali to do so. Baba asked the Mandali one evening to dress in fancy dress, and he would give prizes for the best costume and acting. A party of rich men came for darshan. They were so impressed by Baba and what he was doing excuse me, that they wanted to help financially. But he said, I am a poor one. What have I to do with money? God is enough for us. Because of the increasing number of inpatients, the girls' school was shifted to the outskirts of the village, and the place it had occupied added to the hospital. Rustam was given new family quarters, but unlike Arjun, who was a Hindu and enjoyed ceremony, Rustam, being a Parsi, held it of no account. Instead, with Baba's permission, he had a tea party for all with plenty of cakes and sweets. At one time, there was a great scarcity of rain, and it seemed that the crops would all fail. Baba went and lit the dooni, and after some time it began raining and continued for 15 hours. Baramji's brother, Khoda Murad, had been told by Baba never to go to Pune without first obtaining his permission. But for a long time, he remembered this warning. For a long time, he remembered this warning. Then, circumstance so came about that he went, and the car he was in had a head-on collision with another car, smashing the windscreen. No one in either vehicle was hurt except Kodadad Murad, whose throat was badly gashed. When he came out of hospital, he went to Baba and acknowledged his fault and begged forgiveness. The school was closed half day, and the Mandali were asked to compose verses about the dooni. They were judged that evening by Baba. The rain was accompanied by bleak winds, and Baba gave everyone a quinine tablet. The Makan or Mandali's dormitory leaked so badly that Baba had the Mandali sleep in one of the schoolrooms. On one of the evenings when the Mandali were sitting with Baba by the dooni, he told them, as he had many times earlier, never to leave him. He said, the dreadful time when I will be laid up in one place may come soon, and most of you will be impatient to leave me, even though I might continue asking, arguing, and even pleading with you to stay. Try your best to stick with me and keep on repeating my name mentally, and I will see to it that we all come through the difficult time. After he returned to Pune, Sadashiv Patil had kept himself aloof for some time, so Baba wrote asking him to come and see him the next Sunday. At the same time, Sadashiv in Pune was writing to Baba excusing himself in his roundabout way for his absence. I have not been keeping well for some time, he wrote, but at present am feeling much better, although I am still feeling very weak. I didn't expect complete recovery without seeing you, and so have decided to present myself at your service on Sunday next. The numbers of the poor and the blind in the Dharamshala had greatly increased, and Baba asked the superintendent to pay particular attention to their food. Dr. Ramju Bailey and Syed Sahib came for darshan. Syed Sahib brought a kawal who, when called on to display his art, sang and played atrociously. Not being satisfied with injuring everybody's ears, he then had the effrontery to ask Baba to give him the box, meaning the harmonium case and the instrument. Syed Sahib was furious at this, having already paid him a allotted fee. But Baba told him aside to let it be, and the fellow would be taught a good lesson. When it was time for the visitor to leave, in the midst of the farewells, Baba had the harmonium removed and the box presented to the kawal, but he did not pick it up and take it, but asked for a coolie to carry it. At a sign from Baba, two of the Mandali stepped forward, and making a show of its weight, one lifted it onto the head of the other, and he marched off toward the station, 6 miles away, with the man by his side. After 100 yards, Syed Sahib put the box down and said he could go no further. The fellow swore at him as though he were a coolie, but Syed Sahib refused to go any further. Whereupon the fellow picked it up himself, but expecting the weight of a heavy instrument, and lifting only a light box, nearly fell over backwards. And Syed Sahib fell over with laughter. I think I better stop here.
One evening,
Yeah.
okay. One evening by the Dooney, Baba asked the Mandali to tell their dreams. Of those who told theirs, two are repeated. Murlidhar said that in his dream, a big plate heaped with all kinds of tasty food was offered him. He reached out his hand to take it, but the food changed into a large black snake. He ran, but the snake followed him, and he called on Baba to save him. At the repetitions of Baba's name, the snake began turning in circles and gradually assumed the form of Krishna, with his flute raised to his lips. The second dreamer, Rustamji, saw what he believed to be a complete manifestation of Brahman, or God. On Padre's birthday, 27th November, Baba garlanded him and kissed him. Later on, at Shahani's place, after all had been served with tea and sweets, Sablaram, the blind Bhajankari, praised the Lord who was seated before him. And with his own hands, Baba gave him an expensive harmonium, such as one will hardly see nowadays. A party of some 30 to 40 came from Walki, a village a few miles beyond Arangown, to sing to Baba. Some of the Pune Mandali brought a noted singer, Biaru Kowal, and his party. The business of the day was put aside. The school and dispensary were closed, and the inpatients made comfortable elsewhere. The hospital hall was decorated with leaves and bunting, and thick blankets were strewn on the earthen floor. The party arrived mid-morning, and the midday meal was served early. And when that was finished, Baba took his seat, and the singer sat in front and to one side of him. The hall was packed, but there were more people sitting outside under the open windows than inside, for word of the famous singer had reached the general public. The singer's tale of separation and complaint went on till mid-afternoon when tea was served. And after a short rest, the pleading and praise were resumed and went on till evening. And even then, the tale was not complete, for if it had been, the singer would have ceased to be, and he would have merged himself forever in the eternal beloved. Baba was well pleased with the singing, and the Mandali said it was the best they had ever heard. The singer and his band were given a good meal, and then they left. It was time to build a large meeting hall. Barbara marked out an area of 96 feet by 66 feet between the school and the road and turned the first sod of earth for the foundations. It was near the end of November, and a great cold settled down. And Baba looked over everyone's clothes and bedding, and those who needed extra things were given them. He told them all to keep their chests well covered. None, he said, must die for at least another 8 months. The Mandali were told to discontinue their fasting. A report from the village that a goat had died caused Baba to include the Mahar area in his evening round of inspection to see whether the goat had been buried. At night, all the Mahars were summoned, and Baba talked to them about clean living and the avoidance of meat eating and dealing in dead animals. It was reported that one of the villagers had struck a female member of his family. He was fetched, and Baba warned him never again to strike one of the weaker sex and asked him to fast for 24 hours as a penance. A party of some dozen wealthy Parsis from Bombay, their chief place the chief place of opposition, came and paid their respects to Baba and went back. There was talk in the newspapers about Mahatma Gandhi looking for a guru. Baba told the Mandali that Gandhiji was much more advanced than he knew he was, and that in a few more lives he would become self-realized. But Baba said, lives he would become. But Baba said, how much more fortunate are you who have found your guru than he who is still seeking his? He then explained some of the differences between a yogi, a wali, and a sadguru. Sitaram Bua asked Baba's permission to open a stall to sell coconuts, gram, puffed rice, camphor, and other things. At the end of the first day, which happened to be a Thursday, with its usual crowds, Baba asked him how he had done, and he said very poorly. Baba bought a paper bag of puffed rice and distributed amongst the mandali. Besides Sitaram, Bua's shop, and the flower shop, a number of quote-unquote hotels where meals were served started up, while of hawkers of all kinds there were dozens, and the place looked like a miniature bazaar. One day with the mandali not on duty, Baba went round the hotels, and they all ate a little food at each. Baba with the mandali had supper by the stone tank on the hill. The food was prepared and sent up by the women. Because there was not sufficient food for some latecomers, Baba on his return had one of the women give Naja, the chief cook, a stroke with the cane. Baramji was taken to task because of some slight negligence of duty. Baram answered rather uncivilly and impolitely, but soon repented and gave Baba a written apology and repeated his oath of surrender. A watch was stolen, and Baba asked them all to be more careful with their things. Nothing should be stolen from the place. Pandoba asked permission to dine with a non-Hindu party. Baba gave it, but said that unless ordered otherwise by a Sadguru, one should stick to one's religious observances. The number of daily visitors who was now between 200 and 300, and on Thursdays and Sundays there were crowds. And irrespective of class, caste, or creed, Baba saw individually all those whose share it was to be seen that time by him. But he kept his time for writing, which then was from 8 a.m. to noon. And the mandali had strict orders not to allow anyone to disturb him during those hours. There was an announcement in the newspapers of Mrs. Besant and the coming of a world teacher in the person of Krishnamurti with a circle of chosen apostles. Baba said it was all humbug. The Theosophists, he said, including Basant, Bai, and Master Murti, did not even have a smell of the truth.
That's Theosophists.
Yeah.
Yes.
Theosophists.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing, Baba said, it is said that the spirit of the world teacher will manifest itself to the world through the medium of this boy. And the wire puller of this show is supposed to be somewhere in the Himalayas. There is nothing but ice and stones and dust in the mountains and on the plains. The real teachers, like the Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, and Zoroaster, never kept themselves perched on some mountain peak or hid themselves in the jungle. They freely mingled with those they had come to save. In spite of their unimaginable exaltation, they came down to the lowest levels of men. Not a single spiritual master ever required any vehicle save his own physical body. In truth, this false note of the Theosophists in this eternal God-man's song of God and man is the result of the multifarious aspects of my work and my methods in clearing a path for my manifestation. So Baba is basically telling them he is the avatar. At another time, speaking about fake Mahatmas and false Mahapurushas, Baba remarked that one who, under the guise of a divine personality and spiritual guide, entertains ideas of acquiring wealth and women that rightly belong to another, such a hypocrite should be cut into two pieces, and there would be no sin in doing so. On the contrary, many devoted but simple men and women might be saved by so doing. Then Baba said, at present, Gandhi is the best man among the unrealized millions throughout the world. In spite of his being called a Mahatma by so many, he unreservedly admits that he is miles from the truth. Realization is a very difficult achievement. One evening, when they were sitting around the fire, Baba told the Mandali to be very careful not to show temper or express anger. Anger, he said, as expressed by a Sadguru, is of great benefit to the recipient, but an ordinary person greatly hurts himself by it. Don't hurt the feelings of anyone. To those who speak angrily, repeat politely, and to no one who persists in error, fall at his feet.
And to
And to
one
one who persists in error, fall at his feet. Try always to curb anger. I am teaching you the true asceticism. Listen to me. Otherwise, do what you like. The worst thing is to be a hypocrite. Either one should remain a crow or become a swan. One should not be a heron, which it is said is white on the outside and dirty black inside. Shall we take a break here?
Okay. Okay, I've resumed recording. We have Betty Luman from Sacramento.
So Baba continues. Keep aloof from money and women that are not yours. Expect anything from me except those two things, or the ceaseless chain of birth and death will keep you enslaved continuously. A sadhu who had been staying, I'll increase my volume. A sadhu who had been staying in the village of Raitala, where hundreds of people took his darshan, came to Baba and unreservedly in public said the most
Paid.
sorry. Oops.
The word should be paid.
Oh, I'm sorry. And unreservedly in public paid the most humble homage to him. A Mohammedan dervish who had come from Baghdad to India in search of saints in spite of his high attainments, humbly paid his respects to Baba. A villager who was reported to have beaten his wife. A villager was reported to have beaten his wife. Baba sent for them, and when he admitted the beating, asked him to give in writing that he would never use violence with her again under pain of whatever punishment Baba might think to impose. The bond was duly executed, and the couple went home with peace between them. Another man was reported having paid unwanted attention to one of the girls in the village. At first he denied it, then admitted the offense, and threw himself on Baba's mercy. He also was required to execute a bond of good behavior. A girl was accused of stealing 5 rupees and some silverware. She promised to return the silver, but denied any knowledge of the money. The girl's mother, who was in service in the village, also denied any knowledge of the money. Baba ordered her to pay back the amount from her wages, and the girl was given 3 strokes with the cane. 3 ascetics, 2 men and a woman, came and asked Baba to settle their differences. He listened patiently to them and told them to forgive and forget. A Christian youth appealed to Baba to intervene in a lawsuit one of the Mandali intended to bring against him to recover money which the youth said he did not morally owe. Baba investigated the matter and told the Mandali member to drop the proceedings completely. 2 men were brought before Baba for stealing a pig. They pretended innocence, but in the end owned up. Baba had one of them caned on the hand once and the other twice. At the same time, the owner of the pig was warned not to let it root up other people's cultivation patches. The construction of the hall went on apace and was another item of Baba's daily inspection. Baba was still fasting most of the time, but occasionally at odd times ate a few scraps. Baba said, "My real appearance, Swarup, is quite indescribable. It will be seen by a few when I start speaking again, and at the same time my external form will also be seen, as it was with Christ, Mohammed, and Zoroaster. They too had hands as face as I have. You people, the Mandali, have no idea how I suffer externally as well as internally. On an empty stomach, I go about looking into all the affairs of the place and then sit for 4 hours cramped up writing, which makes me stiff with pain." A letter was received from a devotee named Mohan Shahani, not the Shahani of the tea parties, and was read out. He said that since Baba had not forgiven him his fault, he had stopped eating, and now was in no hurry to receive the pardon he had vainly sought, for fasting made him remember Baba all the more. That was his trump card in the game Baba was playing with him. Baba at once sent a telegram of pardon and told him to break his fast the next day. Pleater's weekly Puranic reading had become very popular. At one season, a Gujarati gentleman swooned. Baba explained that it was due to a very sensitive nature and a devotional tendency. Hearing the divine recitation and constantly looking towards him, Baba had overpowered the man with ecstatic feelings. Such a state was far superior to a man's ordinary feelings, but without the realization of truth itself, had no value. Sitaram's stall had grown into a regular hotel, although only of gunny sacking and bamboo matting. Baba, with all the Mandali, again paid him a visit and ordered 2 cups of tea for each, but the supply ran out, and Baba moved on to another hotel for the remainder. He named the 2 places Raj Mahal and Taj Mahal. A Puranic reading was arranged, but the recitalist must have received word about Baba's non-observant of caste, for he sent word that the untouchables must not be allowed within earshot of the recital. The Sanskrit language in which the Puranas are written is considered by the Orthodox to be too holy for the low castes even to hear. Baba canceled the performance and had the fellow informed that he was welcome to his religion, but for himself all people there were treated alike, and such distinctions as the man wished could not be tolerated. A young woman named Dakubai Shankar Diwani of the Sali caste, suffering from tuberculosis, came to Nagar for a change of climate. She went out to Mehrabad twice and had Baba's darshan. On the second visit, Baba had told her she could stay 4 days, and in that period she had become greatly devoted to him, and subsequently, it was said, performed puja to his photo. One morning she told her mother that she was going to the Ganga, the river Ganges, to bathe in its holy waters. In the evening she called her little daughter to her and caressed and kissed her and asked the family to look after her well. After that she did not look at the child again. About 10 o'clock she seemed to pass away into a deep sleep, but after a while revived and started speaking and distinctly, but none of the family knew in what language. Then with the words, "Oh, white and pure Meher Baba, release me, Ram, Ram," she breathed her last. On Christmas Eve, Baba kept company with the Mandalay till midnight, and to pass the time, he had them give short talks on spiritual themes. When all who wished to speak had done so, Alaba, as previously instructed, went outside and returned, wearing a white kafni, which reached down to his feet, and carrying a huge cross, and delivered a short talk on the life of Jesus. I'm sorry, that wasn't Alaba, it was Ahoba.
But
Okay.
it's probably Alaba.
Oh, you
No,
think
no, I don't think so.
No?
no?
Bob was
Oh.
only a boy at that time.
Oh.
Ajoba or Ahoba. Okay. People started arriving at dawn. The Mandalay school staff and boys were treated to sweetmeats and pastries and tea. Games were played with enthusiasm. There was a holiday atmosphere, and Baba moved about, making himself available to all. In the afternoon, there was a sports program for all ages. In the evening, Savla Ram entertained everyone with his sweet bhajans, and at night there was a kirtan by a Ratna girl,
Geary.
Ratnagiri man. So many grievances and appeals for justice were being brought to Baba that he could not handle them, and he appointed Rustamji and Behramji to give judgments. On New Year's Eve, Baba called a meeting of the Mandali. He told them that Mehrabad was now a village of few hundred souls, including school boarders, and he wished the management of it to pass from one person to a committee. 19 were chosen, with Rustam and Behram as chairman and vice chairman, Vishnu as secretary, and Karim and Tiab as orderlies. The rest were Padri, Pendu, Pandoba, Arjun, Jal, Baba's brother, in one more attempt to get him involved in the work, Misel, Kishan, Gulab Shah, Anna, Pesotam, Masaji, Ahoba, Baroti, Patil, and Kakashahani. He also named the new hall Sai Durbar, the court of Sai Baba. Then there was that mixture of chit-chat and serious talk which Baba so enjoyed, and every now and then at a signal from him, Savlaram, with his sweet voice, would enumerate the qualities of God. And so 1925 passed away into 1926. Wow, 100 years ago. Can I give someone else the reading?
Sure. I've resumed the recording, and Mayor Karan is reading.
There was a sports program in the morning of New Year's Day and bhajans at midday for a couple of hours, after which Baba distributed sweets. In the evening, it rained lightly. Great crowds came out on the following Sunday. Baba spent all the next day in the school planning the expansion of the classes. In the evening, Ramayana Katha was performed. And the following evening, there was a kirtan by the Bua of Shivgao. One of the village untouchable boys became ill, and it seemed to greatly concern Baba. He was admitted to the hospital, and someone was detailed to sit up through the night with him, and a messenger was sent to bring the boy's parents, who were staying in another village. In the evening, after another kirtan, Baba went to the Arangao Maharwada and inquired of the boy's how their health was in the cold weather and instructed the parents how to look after them through the winter season. After Baba's return, there was some general talk, and Baba said that he was the ocean on which all the human beings in the world were appearing and disappearing like bubbles. In the morning, as soon as he came out and without taking his bath, he went to the hospital to see how the boy was. Baba's brothers, Behram and Adi, came and stayed for a few days and took Vishnu's mother with them when they returned to Pune. Frequently, for the whole day, Baba would move about between the school and hospital and dispensary. A lawyer from the village of Pathandi, who was also a yogi, came to test Baba. Baba gave him a slate to write his questions on, at the same time picking up one himself. And as soon as the man started writing, Baba also wrote. When he had filled the slate, he handed it to Baba, and Baba handed him the slate he had been writing. The lawyer was amazed to find that while he had been writing his questions, Baba had been writing the answers. Later on, Baba told the Mandali that it was the first time he had had the fancy to do such a thing. There was a similar performance 5 years later when he was interviewed by a journalist in London on his first visit to the West. Some of the Mandalis slept in one morning, and Baba had a message put on the notice board that all were free to get up when they liked and also to grind flour only when they had the whim for it. Baba composed some poetry in the evening. Every Sunday now there were enormous crowds and the place looked like a country fair. Patil, Ramju and Babu Cyclewala came for a short stay. Baba brought a stack of colored prints of mythological figures to decorate Sai Darbar, the hall of audience. A man who, during Baba's first stay at the place, had abused and insulted him now came for his darshan. The devotee received the gift of a child through he a devotee received the gift of a child through he said Baba's grace. Of a child through he said Baba's grace. The family wanted to name him Ramachandra, but he said he would go and ask Baba to name it. To his amazement, Baba told him to call it that very name. Wow. Pleader began giving readings from the Ramayana from 7 to 8 every evening. The Mandli were to attend them strictly. His Purana recitations on Thursday and Sunday also continued. There was a boy, Kashinath, who fell ill, and Baba asked the doctor and his assistants to give him special treatment. A special messenger was sent to Nagar for eyes. The boy's parents came and were given board and lodging. The boy recovered and a special teapot was given the doctor and Padri and Pendu. The doctor was also given a silver cup. A play on the life of Shivaji was rehearsed for Baba's birthday, his 32nd, in 3 weeks' time. A strange rumor circulated in Nagar that Baba had died, and many of his devotees asked how to see if it was so. This amused Baba very much, and he assured them all that he would not leave his body for the next 26 years, even if heaven and earth conspired together for that purpose. After that, it would be a matter of fancy how long he kept it, but he would not live till 90. Because of the number of. Should I stop here?
Okay.
I think we should stop 11:35.